Well, hello, everybody. I'm going to try this again because I am having connection issues. Welcome to Lunch Break Live, real talk about obesity, food addiction, recovery, and what's really eating you. I am Carrie De La Cruz here again, even though you guys didn't see me the first time, with some real talk, some maybe humbling talk, maybe some going off script talk about what might be eating me and might be eating you. I want to welcome you all in. It is let's see, who's here? Is anybody here? It says I'm live. Okay, it looks like a couple of people are here, so I'm just going with it on a rocky little start here. It is a sunny Thursday afternoon out there in Southern California, which is very odd because we are hearing all sorts of news reports about a Category 5 storm bearing down on us. They're calling it this Pacific storm that's going to be bringing with it tornadoes and, gale force winds, flooding. I mean, crazy talk, right, for Southern California. And it is sunny out there right now. So I don't quite know what to make of it. So, oops, my camera is slipping just a little. Whoa, this is fun. Are you guys having fun with this? Okay, let's try that. There we go. There we go. That's good. All right. Boy, this is indicative of just the kind of show it's gonna be. A little bit rough at the start. Well, anyway, welcome. I see you, Mama. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so thankful for you. Before I get into the show, which is, I want to address a really good question, a really important question that Rebecca posed yesterday in response to my video about flexibility and inflexibility yesterday. I wanted to go wildly off script and just address something with you. Recovery can be messy business because life is messy business. And if I have ever led you to believe that I think recovery is perfect or that I am perfect, well, shame on me, because that is in no way, shape, or form what I believe or want to convey to you guys. I believe that recovery is imperfect business that is often filled with joy, but a lot of self-reflection. And addressing stuff, being willing to face stuff about ourselves that we don't necessarily really like or even want to acknowledge exists. And to wit, I wanted to address something. Where do I start? I have a tendency to get self-righteous, self-righteously indignant. And I jump up on that high horse of mine and I get mad. I get really mad. And I have learned that that's not a healthy thing for me to do because it's the exact opposite of humility. And when it is that I let that, sanctimonious high horse run my race for me, and it will lead me down a road that is anything but serene. I work hard every day to bring to you guys a message of hope and honest, truthful recovery, where I talk about the realities of living life in recovery from obesity and food addiction. And I work very hard to express to you guys the importance of having compassion, being understanding, being forgiving, even as I struggle with those things. But they are always front and center. They are always my goals. I do not always hit the mark. I quite often miss the mark. And that is why I'm really grateful that I have my mom. Because in those times when I miss the mark, I call my mom. And I get to share with her all of my inadequacies and all of the stuff that I'm feeling in all of its rawness. And, sometimes it doesn't take much to set me off. It just takes someone to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, or it takes me to interpret something the wrong way at the wrong time. And, because I think sometimes I'm more fragile than I want to be or that I want to admit that I am. And so when it is that maybe I am questioned about my compassion or my understanding or my sensitivities or my position, on the disease of obesity or food addiction unfairly, as I would say that, where I'm not even given a chance to explain or defend or, clarify. I get on my sanctimonious high horse, my self-righteous high horse, and I go riding like blazes out of town. And that's what happened yesterday. And it made me very sad and very angry at the same time, because I felt like it wasn't fair, plugged into that "it's not fair" theme for me, that says, now wait a minute, why would someone accuse me of something if they don't even know me? How could someone accuse me of something, that is so far from the truth? Now look, I don't need defending. I appreciate the wonderful, loving, supportive things that you guys have said to me. What I need is to double down on my commitment to my recovery, which is to address what that is in me that can lead to unhealthy behaviors. Those are the kinds of things that eat me up. And so I talked to my mom at great length on the way home last night and tried to work through it and process it. And when I woke up this morning, I felt much better. And I felt much more compassionate and forgiving and more resolute in my commitment to continue to do my very best to share an honest message with you guys that may not always be clear. It may not always be understandable, and it may be misinterpreted. My hope, however, is that my intentions will not be misinterpreted. So even as the messenger is flawed, I hope the message gets through to you guys. So that's what I wanted to tell you, because that was very heavy on my heart and on my mind, is that I just wanted to get that out there. And, I know there's a lot of anger in this world of obesity. There are a lot of angry people. And sometimes that anger, trickles over or can be mistaken for passion. And it can be mistaken for someone saying, I'm going to stand my ground and I'm going to fight anyone who opposes me, without realizing that maybe, you're taking people out with friendly fire. People that are in the trenches fighting that battle with you, or people who have been fighting the battle for a while that you could learn from, that I could learn from. But I take them out at the knees, or I take them out, like bringing a machine gun to a duck hunt. It's not pretty. So, hey, it's not my job to control other people, what other people think. It is my job to do the very best job I can to bring a clear message of hope to you guys. And that's my job. And beyond that, I got to let it go. So maybe tomorrow I will talk about the message that I was writing about, like the broader meaning of it, the broader message. Because I think it's kind of a cool message, but it was misinterpreted. So let me now get on with what Rebecca asked, because that's where I want to live for today. I don't know about you guys. And here is what Rebecca said. And I think this is something that eats a lot of us up, okay? She said, I feel worthless and powerless and less valuable to and with everyone. How do I change this? And here are some thoughts that I had on this. And I'm not going to use the word opposite, as in the opposite of this is that, because I don't think that's necessarily the case either. But I'm going to say a positive way of looking at. So the positive way of, a more positive way of looking at worthless is worthy. So the positive of worthless is maybe worthy. The positive of powerless is empowered. Notice I didn't go powerful. I went empowered. The positive of less valuable is valuable. I didn't say more valuable. I just said valuable to and with everyone. All right. How do you define worthiness? Maybe we should start there. These are kind of fill in the blank questions for you guys. I'm not necessarily going to fill in all these blanks. I just want you guys to ponder this stuff in your own journeys and your own lives, because different things have value or worthiness to us. Different things make us feel more empowered. Okay, so this is what I want you guys to think about. How do you define worthiness? What tells you that someone or something is worthy? So if you were to look at it, you go, that's worthy, or that's worth my time, or that's worthwhile. That has worth in my life. Okay. I guess the bigger question might be to start with worthy of what? See, that's a kind of a broad term. And I think if we have too narrow a definition, then we miss out on the opportunities to embrace worthiness, right? Because we're too narrowly defining it. So for example, worthy of what? Typically we're saying worthy of esteem. I think a lot of us are looking at that. But how about this? Worthy of consideration. I want to be considered. I want to be worthy of your consideration. Maybe you feel the same way. You want to be worthy of consideration. How about worthy of respect? I think maybe that's universal. We want to feel worthy of respect. Well, don't we just want respect first and foremost? Sometimes that worthiness thing gets in the way, and maybe it's a distortion. Worthy of honor, worthy of friendship, right? Don't we want to be considered a good friend? To be worthy of that? To be worthwhile? Here's a big one. How about worthy of forgiveness? You know, how many of us get hung up and say, I can't be forgiven, I can't forgive myself, or I can't forgive others? Well, doesn't everyone want to be worthy of forgiveness? So maybe those are some things to think about when we're talking about worthiness. There's a lot of different ways of looking at it. See, it's not just a one-dimensional word. You know, there's a lot of things that are worthy, I think, in our lives and that are worthwhile. Okay. How about this? How do you define power? Well, what shows you that something or someone has power? Is it because they're smart? Do you think that they're powerful because they're smart? Is it because they're rich and they have money? Is it because they're talented? Maybe that's what defines it. Maybe it's because they're attractive. And we say, that person is attractive, so they're powerful. Maybe it's because they're skinny. I used to think that. I used to think that skinny people had it all. Skinny people were more worthy, had more power, right, at their disposal because people gave them a pass or people just gave them preferential treatment. Well, maybe so, maybe not, you know, but definitely I fed that because it ate me up. How do you determine value? What shows you that something or someone has value? It's like another really big word, right? I mean, is it their actions? Is it someone's actions that shows that they have value? Is it their possessions? Is it what they've got that gives them value? A bigger house, a bigger car, more money, nice jewelry, nice shoes? What is it, right? So we have to, I think, when we talk about not having, not feeling worthy or not feeling empowered or as if we have power or not feeling valuable or valued, well, maybe we have to take a step back and look at how it is that we're defining or interpreting those things. Is it a fair assessment or is it a distorted view? You know, are we just, and is it a double standard where we are applying certain criteria to someone else that we don't apply to ourselves? So maybe we are unfairly judging ourselves. So we're giving others leniency and a free pass, but we're being much harder on ourselves. So what is it? We've got to look for consistency, I think, in how it is that we define these things in our lives, okay? So if we feel someone else is worthy, are we going to apply that same definition or that same criteria to ourselves? Or are we going to set the bar higher so that we'll always miss the mark? I think that's part of self-awareness here. Are we being fair to ourselves both ways? Are we giving ourselves a pass? Are we not holding ourselves to the same standard we hold others to? Or are we holding ourselves to a higher standard than we hold others to? I think that's a good question, don't you? I mean, that's reasonable. How does someone show that they have value? So if you wanted to show someone that you had value, what would you do? Or what would you look for in someone else if they were going to show you that they had value? Here's what I think. I think maybe they honor their word. That matters to me. You know, if someone has value to me, it's because they honored their word, they followed through, they show up, they prioritize, you know, and they honor whatever that priority is, and they own their crap. Oh my gosh, that is such a big one to me. They own their imperfections. They apologize, you know. That carries a lot of value to me. Is someone who apologizes and says, hey, I'm sorry, I own that. Man, I could have done a better job. I'll work hard to do that next time. That has a lot of value to me. So in other words, it's not about perfection or not making mistakes. It's what do you do about it when something doesn't go quite right? That has a lot of value to me. How does someone show that they have power or they are empowered? They express an opinion. Ooh, maybe they express an opinion that isn't popular, that maybe other people will not agree with, or may argue with, or may misinterpret. That's kind of something to consider, especially in light of yesterday. They stand up for themselves. They command respect. They don't demand it. I just don't think you can pummel someone into respecting you. I don't think you can show up, club them over the head, and say, now respect me, damn it. No. I think you command respect. I don't think you demand it. I don't think that's going to end well. Well, of course, if you want respect, you have to what? Show respect. How do we show that we respect someone? Well, how about I respect the fact that I don't agree with you? I respect you enough to know that maybe I don't agree with you because I don't understand your position, and I'm going to ask you to clarify it. I respect you enough because I'm confident enough in myself that I respect my own position, so I can hear your position without fear that it will undermine my own. Hey, maybe it will strengthen my position. Maybe it will help me be a better version of me if I can hear what it is you have to say that might be in opposition to what I think. See, so there's a lot of power in that, I think. All right, considering, what others might have to say. How does someone show that they have value? Well, I think, and again, these are my thoughts as ever. I think they are compassionate, forgiving, patient, consistent, reliable, and accountable. That last word is so big because so frequently I think people want to insert the word blame, and use that as a reason not to be accountable, because they'll say, well, don't blame me. It's not my fault. No. This isn't about blame. This is about accountability. This is about owning our crap. This is about recognizing our role in or our part of something. So I think in looking at sort of those factors or those definitions or those concepts, right? Does that change how you look at, Rebecca and everybody who might be thinking like this, how you look at feeling worthy and empowered and having value? Okay, I think that we have to first of all start with ourselves and then let everyone else take care of themselves. All right? And you're like, well, I don't feel those things, so how do I change that? Well, I think we change it by beginning to define things a little more clearly instead of having it be so nebulous or having it be so, what is the word I'm looking for? Like impossible, like an impossible goal or target. We have to define it in a way that's manageable and attainable. And then this self-awareness comes in where we really acknowledge when it is that we are hitting the mark and when we're missing the mark. All right? So recognizing and acknowledging those things that we might see in others and then modeling them ourselves, or acknowledging in ourselves the things that we recognize or acknowledge in others. It comes from, I think, this whole, like in a nutshell, looking at this, how to feel more worthy, how to feel more worthy, how to feel more empowered, how to feel more valuable. Well, for me, it came down to acknowledging the things that I do well, even if it's, I've often said this, even if it's acknowledging that I fold laundry really, really well. Hey, it's something. I can fold those fitted sheets with the deep pockets. But unfortunately, the downside of that is they look so good. I often confuse them for flat sheets, and I end up opening them and having to refold them because I thought they were, flat sheets. So there is a downside to, being valuable. But anyway, acknowledging and recognizing, are you a good friend? Are you compassionate? Are you forgiving? Do you forgive yourself? Are you giving yourself? Are you showing yourself compassion? Are you being a friend to yourself? Are you standing up? Are you showing up? Are you being respectful to yourself? Right? We start with those things. We start with them with little baby steps because sometimes this isn't safe. It doesn't feel safe. We're so scared. We've never done it before. What happens if? What happens if this is all going on inside your head, so it really doesn't matter, right? You don't have to share with the world the work that you're doing so that someone else would come and say, that's not worthy. You're not empowered. You have no value. Forget that. You didn't ask. This is not a team sport. This is something this is a solo effort. So start by working with yourself on this inside your head. If you're not sure where to start, you can consult a good friend, a trusted friend, and say, friend, I am really struggling with this stuff. What are ways that you see that I have value to you as a friend? What are some things that you look for to determine whether I'm worthy or someone is worthy? What are some things I can do so I can be empowered? Can you help me with that? That's fair too. What I'm getting at is, don't take a poll, don't throw it out there on Facebook and say, hey, Facebook friends, am I worthy, valuable, and powerful? Because you know where that's going to end? It's going to end where mine ended yesterday. And I didn't even ask those questions. So there, look. This is tricky business. I get it. And, sometimes it hurts. It's scary doing things that we are not confident in doing, that we don't have a lot of experience in doing. But gosh, how do we gain experience doing something we've never done? We have to do it. And of course, our first, faltering steps are not going to be, great. Or, maybe we're going to miss steps sometimes. And we're going to have to take a step backwards and say, no, that wasn't the way to go. Or, sometimes that pendulum overcorrects. And sometimes when we're, getting our sea legs and trying to establish our, power, we overuse it, we overextend it. And we say, oh, okay, I got to rein that in a little bit. Being opinionated, sharing my opinion and having it all over everybody is not the best way to show that I have power. Okay, let me rein that in a little bit. So, it's a process. Recovery is a process, you guys. But I would encourage you that the way in which we find that joy that someone so sweetly mentioned, was it you, Elaine? Who was it that said, that my program is joyful? We have to recognize that joy. Sometimes it's just there for the taking and we don't even recognize it because we're so busy, looking down at our feet. We're forgetting to look out there at the sunshine. Even though the storms are coming, there's sunshine out my window right now, and that's very joyful. So let's look for that sunshine instead of focusing on the storms that are coming, which is not to say not to prepare for the storms, because they will come. It's what we do about it. I've got an umbrella and a warm coat. I don't know about you. So that is my rather unusual show for the day. I do thank you guys so very much for being here. It is done, I think. I think we're done for today. I've talked quite enough and rambled, really, maybe. This is why we need notes and outlines and, preparation. But hey, if there's one thing you can know and be assured of, this came from my heart and my very, very imperfect head. But just know that I am offering it with as much humility as I possibly can. With some self-awareness and apologies and, an asking for forgiveness and a willingness to do better. That's where this is coming from. And isn't that all anybody could ask of any of us? All right, guys, I'm going to leave you. I will read your comments offline. I thank you so very much for being here. I'm very excited to wrap it up tomorrow if I don't float away in the gutter out there, because they say it's going to be pretty bad. I guess I'll have to build a boat or an ark. I don't know. Anyway, you guys, I want to encourage you all to have courage, seek peace, embrace joy, and above all, live your recovery. Remember, you can't stop feeding what's eating you. If you don't know what's eating you, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye.